After a long 6 months of using the MacBook Air M4, it's fully replaced my desktop gaming PC, and I think it's safe to say I won't be using a Windows laptop anytime soon. For some context, I bought my first PC at 13, and I've used it for 6 years since. And since I was starting university, I thought what better thing to do than to buy a MacBook, and I couldn't have been more right. Now, I'm not going to bore you in this video talking about 100 technical spec related things, because chances are if you're watching this video, you probably know everything about the laptop. Instead, I'm just going to share my honest experiences using this device daily for the past 6 months. But I do want to mention I did spec up to the 10-core GPU and a bit more storage, and I'll explain why in just a second. I would say I use my MacBook pretty heavily, mainly schoolwork, editing videos, and editing photos. And I have to say, I'm genuinely surprised by how well this laptop keeps up with all those things. Throughout these past 6 months, not once have I encountered any issues where it's lagging, it's too slow, or it's just bugging out, which is why this laptop's performance honestly surprised me so much, because I can't even tell you the amount of times I was editing on my desktop PC and my apps would just straight up crash or I'd get the blue screen to death. But with this laptop, I don't have to deal with any of that stuff, so it's honestly amazing. I picked up this laptop because I wanted to edit better videos, and I was starting university and needed something to store all my files and get the work done in the day-to-day. So I finished up my first year at university, and honestly, throughout the entire thing, this laptop was perfect and it held up really well. Since I upgraded the storage, I had enough space for all my files, schoolwork, and my videos. And on top of that, I didn't have to deal with any issues thanks to the M4 chip, which makes this laptop crazy fast. Also, it's such a small and compact laptop that pulling it out and using it in class is just so convenient. Since I got this laptop, I have non-stop used it for editing. I haven't touched, let alone edited on my desktop PC since the day that this MacBook arrived. I used to only be editing 4K 60 videos recorded on my iPhone 17, but I recently picked up the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, which records in 4K 10-bit, and it's had no issues at all handling footage from that. Even while color grading, not a single issue. I'm still able to use my Mac like completely normal. So whether you're working on simple stuff like assignments and schoolwork, or you're doing more heavy creative work like editing or Photoshop, you'll actually find that the MacBook Air holds up really well. It's also insanely fast and helps me get all my edits done on time, so I'm able to upload videos for you guys, so make sure you're subscribed. Also, I was debating on getting the Pro model because obviously I'm using it to make content and want to get the best performance, but going in person and checking out the MacBook Pro, it was way too big and got rid of that thin, easy to carry vibe that the Air had, so I ended up just speccing my MacBook Air, and this allowed me to get the same performance as the M4 Pro while also having a compact and easy to carry around laptop. And overall, I'm pretty happy with my decision, but there are some downsides which I'll talk about in just a second. Now, I recently went on vacation and had to do some schoolwork while I was there, so I ended up taking my laptop with me, and traveling with this laptop was honestly such a great experience. It fit really nicely into my bag and didn't take up lots of space. I was also able to get some work done on my 20-hour flight thanks to this thing's crazy battery life, and while on the move I was able to charge my phone using the MacBook because I'd forgot to bring a portable charger. Like I talked about in my first review, I did buy a little travel/carry case for my MacBook because there's no way on earth I'm putting this thing into my backpack and letting it get scratched up. Now, I did buy AppleCare, but I'd rather spend another 15 to 20 bucks to protect this thing from getting scratched up than go through the hassle of going to Apple and getting it repaired. But that's just me though. I know some people don't really care, so it's honestly up to you. I also picked up one of these USB-C dongles, which connects my MacBook to my monitor. And when I'm editing really long videos and need the extra space, this thing really helps out. It also frees up space on the side of my MacBook, so none of the other ports are blocked. And one of my favorite things is that you can actually charge your MacBook through this little dongle, so you don't kill the battery life when you're working on your monitor. Also, I want to take a second to talk about today's sponsor, NotchNook. NotchNook is a MacBook app that completely transforms your notch, turning it from a boring bar at the top of your screen to an actual interactive tool that you can use in the day-to-day. It essentially turns your notch into a dynamic island, which for me changed the entire way my Mac feels. You can change what's displayed when you hover over the notch, from things like your notes, your calendar, and your media player. This is actually such a game changer for me because 90% of the time I'm editing, I'm always listening to music, and I have to keep on going back and forth between screens just to change songs. And now while editing, I can actually just head over to my notch and change it directly from there. There's also a ton of different customization options, and they're working on adding even more stuff like a to-do list and quick apps. This is probably one of my favorite apps for the MacBook right now, and it's overall changed the way that I use my Mac. Whether I'm doing schoolwork, editing, or just chilling and browsing things, NotchNook always got me covered. The link to NotchNook is going to be in the description, so make sure you guys go check it out, and be sure to use my code ORBS30 during checkout. Now while this MacBook is awesome and I could glaze it all day, there are some minor downsides that you should consider before getting this laptop. Firstly, the keyboard is really thin and sleek, which obviously I like, but at times it can get really annoying, and it kind of makes the laptop impossible to clean as well, because sometimes if you get dirt or debris under one of the keys, it'll actually jam the key, which is kind of like a minor thing because eventually it'll come out, but it's pretty annoying. Now quick fix to this would be getting some compressed air and just spraying it out, but this is more just a little annoying thing that's consistent with all laptops than simply a MacBook thing, but it's just something to keep in mind. Now adding on to this is how quickly this laptop gets dirty. Unless you're a clean freak, you're gonna notice that this MacBook gets dirty really easily, and it's basically like this with all MacBooks due to the glossy finish on the screen and the aluminum body, but the MacBook collects fingerprints and dust really easily. Sometimes you might notice dust or debris on your screen, and as you go to wipe it away with your finger, it smudges onto the screen. My fix to this is honestly just keeping a big microfiber cloth with me, and every time I notice it starts to get a little bit dirty, I just wipe this thing down and have it looking back to normal. Now one of my main things I dislike about the Air, which honestly is completely my personal preference, I just don't like how thin this thing is. And I should have known this when I first bought the device, but I didn't realize how big of an issue it was until I actually used it in my day-to-day. This thing is really thin, and if you're like me, you're always worried about your device staying in pristine condition, then this is probably something to look out for as well. When I was on my vacation, anytime I'd bump my backpack or accidentally set it down a little bit too hard, I would instantly take my laptop out and check to see if the screen was broken. I do have to give credit though, this thing is a lot more sturdy than it feels and looks. I've actually dropped it a couple times and there's literally no damage on it, so it's definitely not an actual issue. It's more just a mental thing where if something looks fragile, you're obviously going to be like, yo, this thing's going to break. So if that's something you're worried about, definitely take that into account before buying this laptop. But if you're just balling like that, then I don't know. Now in all honesty, this laptop has held up really well. I'm going to be checking back in with you guys in another 6 months, which will make it a year since I had this laptop, to see if it really holds up and is good for long-term usage. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and stay tuned because there's going to be a lot more content on the way soon. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys again in the next video.